I never imagined my life would unravel because of a children's party. It sounds ridiculous even writing that, but it's the truth. My wife, Emily, and I had been together for 8 years, married for 5, and we had a beautiful little girl named Sophie, who had just turned 4. We weren't perfect, who is? But I thought we were stable, happy even. I worked as an IT consultant, often from home, and Emily was a freelance graphic designer. Our days were predictable, cozy even. Sophie's 4th birthday was supposed to be simple, a small gathering in our backyard with balloons, cupcakes, and a clown. But Emily wanted to make it special. She's only 4 once, she said, showing me Pinterest boards of pastel balloons, themed decorations, and face painting ideas. She was determined to give Sophie the best day ever. So, she hired a party planner. His name was Ryan. I remember the first time I saw him, tall, with that effortless charm some people have. He had this energy, like he belonged more at a music festival than at a kid's party. He brought along boxes of decorations, props for games, even a small sound system for children's music. He made Sophie laugh instantly, crouching down to her level and painting a tiny butterfly on her hand. I remember thinking, well, at least he's good at his job. Over the next 2 weeks, Emily and Ryan planned the party together. He came by the house several times to go over details. I didn't think much of it, I was busy with a work deadline. I'd walk into the living room and see them poring over lists, laughing at inside jokes I wasn't in on. She seemed happier, lighter. I chalked it up to excitement about Sophie's big day. The party itself was perfect. Ryan set up a little fairy tale wonderland in our yard. Sophie was over the moon, running around with her friends, her face painted like a unicorn. Parents kept complimenting Emily on how beautifully organized everything was. And Ryan? He was the life of the party. He was everywhere, helping kids with games, making balloon animals, dancing like a goof to Disney songs. I remember catching Emily watching him once. Not just looking, watching. Her eyes lingered on him in a way I hadn't seen in years. It made my stomach twist, but I pushed the thought aside. You're being paranoid, I told myself. It's just a party planner. Nothing more. After the guests left and Sophie was tucked into bed, I found Emily in the kitchen with Ryan. He was helping her clean up, and they were laughing about something I didn't hear. When I walked in, they both fell quiet for a second, like I had interrupted something. Then Ryan smiled that easy smile and said, "Hey man, thanks for letting me help out. Emily's amazing, by the way. You're a lucky guy." Something about the way he said it made my skin prickle. That was the first time I felt off. But life moved on. The next week, Emily started mentioning Ryan casually. "Oh, Ryan sent me a playlist of kid songs Sophie might like." Or, "Ryan told me about this cute cafe downtown. Maybe we should try it sometime." Harmless, right? Except, she started texting more. She'd laugh at her phone and, when I'd ask, she'd say it was just her mom group. Then came the day she said she was meeting a friend for coffee. Sophie was with me, so I didn't question it. But later that evening, Sophie asked, "Why was Mommy with the party man today?" I froze. I didn't say anything right away. I just nodded and changed the subject, but inside, something cracked. That night, I waited for Emily to bring it up herself, maybe tell me she ran into Ryan by chance. But she didn't. She just smiled, kissed me goodnight, and went to bed like nothing happened. Over the next few weeks, Emily became more distant. She was distracted during dinner, often working late in her office. Our intimacy, which had already been lukewarm after Sophie was born, dwindled to nothing. She started dressing nicer, doing her hair more, wearing perfume even when she said she was just running errands. One evening, after Sophie had fallen asleep, I casually asked, "How's Ryan doing?" "Haven't seen him since the party." Emily froze for a fraction of a second before answering, "Oh, busy with work, I guess." Then she changed the subject. That was it. That tiny hesitation. That tiny pause was enough to plant a seed of dread. So, I did something I'd never done in our entire relationship. I checked her phone. I hated myself for it, but something told me I wouldn't like what I found. And I was right. There they were, messages. Not overly explicit, but enough to make my heart pound. Had such a great time with you today. Can't stop thinking about it. From him. Me neither, from her, followed by a heart emoji. Another one, I can't wait to feel your arms around me again. I felt like the floor dropped out from under me. I didn't confront her right away. I couldn't. I just sat there in the dark, staring at those messages, feeling my entire marriage dissolve in my hands. The woman I thought I knew, the mother of my child, was sneaking around with a man who paints butterflies on kids' hands for a living. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long it had been going on. Wondering if Sophie noticed more than I did. Wondering if I was just the fool in the background of their story. The next morning, Emily kissed me on the cheek before leaving for groceries. Her phone buzzed on the counter right after she left. A message from Ryan, can't wait to see you. Same place as last time? And that was the moment I knew I needed proof. I spent the rest of that day in a haze. My mind kept replaying the messages I'd read. Can't wait to feel your arms around me again. How many times had she felt them already? My stomach churned with anger, disbelief, and this hollow sadness I couldn't shake. I told myself I needed clarity, real proof. Because even though the texts were damning, a part of me still wanted to believe there was an explanation that made sense. I didn't want to be the jealous husband who misunderstood a friendship. But I also didn't want to be the fool who ignored the obvious. That night, after Sophie went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at Emily across from me. She was scrolling on her phone, smiling faintly at whatever she was reading. I wondered if it was him. My chest felt tight. Hey, I said, trying to sound casual, are you going anywhere tomorrow? She didn't look up. Oh, yeah. Just some errands. I might grab coffee with Mia, from Sophie's playgroup. She lied so easily. That hurt almost as much as the betrayal itself. I nodded slowly, keeping my face neutral. Want me to watch Sophie, then? Sure, she said. Thanks, babe. That night, I barely slept again. While Emily snored softly beside me, I made a plan. If she was meeting Ryan tomorrow, I would know for sure. The next day, she left around 10 a.m., wearing a sundress I hadn't seen in years. She'd curled her hair, put on makeup, even spritzed her favorite perfume. For coffee with Mia. I waited 5 minutes, heart pounding in my chest, then grabbed Sophie's car seat, buckled her in, and drove a few streets over. I didn't want to follow too closely. I knew where most of the cafes were, and sure enough, I saw her car turning onto Maple Avenue, the part of town with boutique shops and hidden little coffee spots. I parked a block away and walked with Sophie, pretending we were just out for a stroll. My hands were sweaty, my vision weirdly sharp. I was both terrified and angry, but part of me almost hoped I'd be wrong. I saw her. Through the glass window of a cafe. And I saw him. Ryan. They weren't sitting like old friends catching up. No, his hand was resting on hers across the table, his thumb brushing her knuckles like they were lovers. Emily was leaning toward him, smiling in a way I hadn't seen her smile at me in years. It wasn't forced. It wasn't casual. It was that soft, glowing look you give someone who makes you feel alive. I froze on the sidewalk, clutching Sophie's tiny hand. I felt like I couldn't breathe. They didn't notice me. They were too wrapped up in their little world. I didn't go in. I couldn't. My daughter was with me, and I wasn't about to let her witness that scene. So I turned around, heart hammering, and walked back to the car. Later that night, when Emily came home, she smelled faintly of coffee and something sweeter, something different. I didn't ask her anything. I just watched her move around the kitchen, humming softly as she made dinner, as if she hadn't spent the day with another man. For the next 2 weeks, I watched her like a stranger. I started noticing all the little things I'd been blind to before. The way she guarded her phone, always face down on the counter. The sudden excuses to run quick errands. The way she seemed both guilty and exhilarated, her mood swinging between distant and oddly giddy. I started collecting proof quietly. I went through our shared laptop and found an email chain, deleted, but still recoverable. Short notes like, "I can't wait to see you again," and "When are you free? I miss you already." I even found a receipt in her purse for a hotel downtown. A weekday afternoon, 2 hours booked. My heart stopped when I saw it. I held the paper in my hand, staring at the neat little printed timestamp. There was no denying it anymore. She wasn't just emotionally involved with Ryan. She was sleeping with him. I didn't confront her right away. I didn't know how. I didn't even know what I wanted. Did I want to save our marriage? Did I want to destroy it? All I knew was that I felt humiliated. Trapped in this silent hell of knowing but pretending not to know. Then, one night, Sophie had a nightmare and crawled into bed with us. Emily wrapped her arms around her and whispered, "Mommy's here, baby. Mommy loves you." And that's when it hit me, this wasn't just about me. It was about Sophie. About the family we'd built, the one she was risking for, what? Some thrill with a guy who juggles at kids' parties? That thought lit something in me. I couldn't let this continue. The opportunity came a few days later. Emily said she was going out for groceries again. I kept Sophie at home and waited. 10 minutes later, I left and drove toward the boutique hotel I'd seen on the receipt. I parked across the street and waited. Sure enough, about 20 minutes later, a familiar car pulled up. Ryan got out first. He looked around casually, then opened the passenger door. Emily stepped out. She looked different. Not like the tired wife I knew. She was radiant, wearing that same sundress from before, smiling at him like a teenager in love. He leaned down and kissed her right there on the sidewalk. And just like that, they walked inside together. I sat there in my car, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My body was trembling, not from shock anymore, but from pure, cold rage. I stayed there for 2 hours. And when they finally came out, laughing softly, holding hands like they didn't have a care in the world, I snapped a photo. It wasn't about proof anymore. I had plenty. It was about facing the reality I'd been trying to deny. That night, Emily came home like nothing happened. She kissed Sophie goodnight, then came into our room and smiled faintly at me. "How was your day?" she asked, slipping off her earrings. I stared at her for a long time before answering. "Interesting," I said quietly. She didn't notice the edge in my voice. But she would. Soon. The next morning, I woke up before Emily. She was still asleep, her face calm, almost innocent in the early light. Looking at her like that, so peaceful, was surreal. I wondered how many times she'd woken up next to me with his scent still lingering on her skin. That thought burned me from the inside. I got up, quietly made Sophie breakfast, and packed her little backpack. I called my sister and asked if Sophie could spend the day with her. I didn't explain much, just said I had something important to deal with. Emily barely stirred when I told her I was taking Sophie out for the morning. Okay, she mumbled, still half asleep. But when I came back home 2 hours later, I wasn't the same man who'd left. She was in the kitchen making coffee when I walked in. She smiled faintly, that same soft smile that used to make me melt. "Hey," she said, "did Sophie have fun with Aunt Claire?" I didn't answer. I walked straight to the counter, pulled out my phone, and placed it face up between us. On the screen was the photo I'd taken. Emily froze. Her hand tightened around the coffee mug, her smile fading into confusion, then fear. What is that?" she whispered. "You tell me," I said, my voice low, steady, colder than I thought I could manage. Her eyes darted to the screen, her and Ryan walking out of the hotel, his hand intertwined with hers. She gasped softly, like the air had been punched out of her lungs. I didn't yell. I didn't need to. The silence between us was heavier than any shouting match. I can explain," she stammered, tears already pooling in her eyes. No, I cut her off, my voice sharp. You've been explaining with your lies for weeks. I'm done with explanations. I want the truth. All of it. Right now. She sank into the chair, covering her face with her hands. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she whispered. How long? I asked. She didn't answer. How long? My voice cracked, the control slipping for the first time. Emily flinched. Since Sophie's birthday, she finally said, her voice trembling. It just started with talking. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I swear I didn't. I laughed bitterly. Didn't mean for it to go this far? You've been sneaking out to meet him. You kissed him in public. You slept with him in a hotel room while your daughter was at home with me. Don't you dare act like this was some accident. She started crying harder. I didn't feel seen anymore, she said between sobs. Ryan made me feel alive again. Like I mattered. Like I wasn't just someone's wife and someone's mom. He made me feel beautiful, and I got lost in it. I never wanted to hurt you. I still love you. I stared at her, completely numb. Love? Was this what love looked like? Sneaking around, lying every day, risking our family for cheap thrills? You love me? I asked quietly. Emily, you destroyed me. You destroyed everything we built. You didn't just hurt me, you hurt Sophie. Do you even realize what you've done? She reached for me, desperate. Please, don't do this. We can fix this. I'll end it with him. I'll do whatever it takes, just don't give up on us. I stepped back. The sight of her hand reaching out like that made me sick. End it with him? I said. Emily, you already ended us. The moment you chose him over your family, this marriage died. She shook her head violently, sobbing harder. No, please. I made a mistake. It was stupid, it was selfish. I hate myself for it. But you're my husband, you're the father of my child. Please don't take Sophie away from me. Please don't take my family away. Her words didn't touch me anymore. There was nothing left to salvage. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just let go. I'm filing for divorce, I said calmly. I've already spoken to a lawyer. I have the proof I need. Her sobs turned into panicked gasps. No, please, no. We can go to counseling, we can. No, I interrupted. This isn't about counseling. This isn't a rough patch. You made a choice. Over and over again. And now I'm making mine. She slid to the floor, crying so hard she could barely breathe. But I didn't comfort her. I couldn't. I turned and walked upstairs, packed a small bag with essentials for Sophie and me, and walked out without another word. The next few weeks were a blur. Emily tried everything, calls, texts, begging through mutual friends, but I didn't go back. I moved in with my sister temporarily, focusing on Sophie. She was confused, of course. She didn't understand why Mommy and Daddy weren't together. I told her we both loved her, but we had to live in different homes now. It broke my heart to see her little face trying to make sense of it all. Emily eventually sent a long letter, saying she ended things with Ryan, that she regretted everything, that she'd spend the rest of her life proving she was sorry. But it was too late. Because here's what I realized: I could forgive a mistake. But this wasn't a mistake. It was a choice she made every single time she answered his texts, every time she lied to my face, every time she walked into that hotel. And I couldn't live in a world where I'd always wonder if she was telling the truth. The divorce is still ongoing, but I'm at peace with my decision. It's not easy. Some nights, I still lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if there was something I could have done differently. But then I remember that image of her hand in his, the way she smiled at him like I didn't exist. And I know I made the right choice. Ryan? From what I've heard, he moved on to another client. I doubt he ever cared about her the way she thought he did. Emily? She's living with the weight of what she threw away. Maybe one day she'll forgive herself. I don't know. As for me, I'm focusing on Sophie. On rebuilding a life that isn't built on lies. Because sometimes, the only way to heal is to walk away from the wreckage even if it was once your home.